Hi everyone, I'm Lorna Baker from LMB Procurement, a procurement and bid writing consultancy specialising in the public sector. Welcome back to my series on tender evaluations. I've previously done videos on the due diligence stage and I've discussed things such as credit checks, central digital platform, references and AI. Today, we've moved on to the quality evaluation. So I'll be talking about the scoring process, comments from evaluators, and some of the challenges that I face as a procurer. So the first thing to talk about is the evaluation platform. Evaluators are only going to see their assigned parts. So in this case, I've got a lot that's based in Scotland, and only the evaluators who are evaluating the Scotland lots will be accessing that information. If an evaluator is scoring one bidder, they will be scoring all the bidders within their assigned area. So they won't only be looking at one element. For example, the health and safety team will be evaluating all the bids for health and safety. The Scotland team will be evaluating all the Scotland bids. They will be using a scoring scale. On this instance, they're using a 0 to 5 scale. I've found that it doesn't really matter if I give people a 0 to 10 scale or a 20-point scale. Something in the human condition is that certain people like to use half points, and it really doesn't matter how many scores you give people. To that end, I find a 0 to 5 scale helps me better coordinate and open discussions with evaluators when I'm asking them to justify their scores. If in doubt, I tell evaluators, to round down. So a great score might come in, it might provide good answer with examples. There may even be some value added elements to it. But if they've missed one element of answering the question, which was a mandatory part of the question, they may well find themselves being marked down for that and getting a fair score. The evaluators will be evaluating only against the criteria of the ITT. So we're not evaluating bidder A against bidder B or comparing them. We're comparing them only against what we've asked for within the ITT and the specification. Very important for incumbents is that there should be no assumptions made. So they're only evaluating what's written. So if you've worked with an organisation for a while, if you think that you know the evaluation panel, then you need to still be really clear about how you deliver that work because they can only evaluate what's written. Unnecessary marketing content is not going to help your bid. Firstly, it comes across as generic, and secondly, it comes across as just being inundating people with too much information they've then got to search through. Remember that given the amount of work that you've put into your bid, those evaluators could be reviewing it 7 times, 8 times in my time. In my case, across all lots and all bids, I've got over 40 bids to read. So additional information that's not relevant is not going to help your cause at all. In addition to providing a score, I ask evaluators to provide comments, and I make this mandatory within the portal so that the evaluators can't move on without providing me with some sort of feedback. This is used so that I can prepare the mandatory feedback to bidders. This helps them improve their bids going forward, and it's just what I need as part of my process. Evaluators are subject experts, they're not necessarily writers. So part of my role in procurement is to coach evaluators to be specific, fair, and helpful in their feedback. I do find quite a bit of a time that, particularly when we go back to the scoring matrix, where we see the scale coming up at 3, I will find that evaluators will sometimes just write the word okay or sufficient or good, and that's not going to help with feedback, and it's also not going to help with their memory when we're having a moderation meeting and I'm asking them to justify their score. Tips for bidders. So if you're a bidder and you're putting forward a new bid, answer every single part of the question. If there's multiple parts to it, if, for example, you've got a delivery team or a structure question, and you've answered and you've been asked to provide CVs, an organogram, and a delivery structure, and talk about the experience of the staff delivering, and you do everything but fail to upload your organisation structure, you need to remember that you may well get scored lower and only score a 2, even though the quality of the CVs is great, the quality of the staff is brilliant. You may find that you are scored lower because you've not provided part of the answer. So it's best not to trip up on something by not fully answering the question. You should use real and relevant examples because these can help your case. But remember, and I'm sure that there will be solicitors that will agree with this, there is a very, very distinct line between creative license and misrepresentation, and you do not want to be on the wrong side of that. In terms of providing your response, please do make it structured and easy to score. I have had to talk evaluators off the edge from having no idea if a bidder has answered the question because it's all just jargon and hidden links to other areas of their response. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the evaluation team will only be given access to the areas of the bid that are relevant for them to evaluate. So, where I've talked about health and safety and the health and safety team reviewing all those questions, if you've got something that's relevant and you've been asked to provide something in relation to health and safety, and you've already provided it under your health and safety question, please do provide it again unless you've been told not to, because you shouldn't be assuming that the person reading the mobilisation question is going to be the same person reading the health and safety question. That brings me to the end of the initial part of the quality evaluation process. Once all my evaluation team have evaluated their bids, I'll be bringing them forward for the moderation process. And this is going to be where I challenge them on their scoring and just to open up a conversation between evaluators to make sure that the information that they have provided and the feedback that I'll be using is accurate and correct. I'll talk about that in the next video.